this morning. So, all right, now we move on to our next section, which is the Q&A section. So if you have any questions to our experts directly, please feel free later on to approach the mics, or you can also text our hotline, which is, what's the text number? But while we are waiting for that, we are, it's 0977-473-9102. But we will start this Q&A session by discussing the stocks that you want us to comment on, right? So we've asked you about the top 10 stocks you want us to talk about. We considered 15, okay? So let's start. While you're thinking about your questions, let's go through the top stocks. All right, so as you can see in the chart, we've already covered some of it in the technicals of Juanes. So we will be asking them for comment on the stocks that we have a check mark on, all right? So we've also covered previously Ali, Meg, MBT, AC, Bloom, and AP. All right, so I'll flash na lang your opinion so we can, of course, help our customers understand these issues. So first, let's go to SMPH, April.
Yeah, so fundamentally, SM Prime, we have no problems with it fundamentally. It's the biggest, I think the reason why people really like it is it's the dominant mall operator. And, you know, as I always tell people, since I started out as an analyst in the 1990s, SM Prime never ever reports down earnings. Always
right.
Up. Pataas lang ng pataas. But, you know, and also we're very positive on the reclamation project. Kasi can you imagine in the Pasay area, the properties there are selling for 100,000, 150,000 per square. Ang cost nila to reclaim is 37,000 per square. So, of course, they're going to make a lot of money from that one. But the thing is, what we're really concerned about is valuations. So SM Prime is now the most expensive property company. It's trading at 37 times PE. Okay, so you can see it's very expensive. 11% discount to NAV of 44, but then if you look at the NAV of 44, I think a big chunk of that, 7 pesos, is due to reclamation. So the question is, matutuloy ba tong reclamation or hindi? No? Kung hindi natuloy, baka mag-correct yung stock. So we're just a little bit worried about that.
All right.
Okay, next stock is
BDO.
BDO,
yes.
Yeah. So BDO, again, we like it in terms of earnings quality. I think, you know, I think in terms of strategy, earnings quality, I think it's the best. It's the largest bank. 80% of earnings are from recurring sources, meaning interest income, fee income. So very good bank. NPL cover, ibig sabihin, what if somebody defaults? How is it gonna be? It's more than adequately covered. 140% NPL cover. Our issue really is the valuations. It's a little bit expensive, trading at 2.1 times price to book. The industry is trading at 1.4 times price to book. So significant premium. So in other words, it's priced in the positives of BDO. Yeah.
I think we go on to the technicals of SMPH and BDO. Juanes can comment.
All right, so I guess I would agree in April also. I mean, and it's also a little bit elevated in terms of SM Prime, and you're also climbing the trend on the high side of the band. So that's the reason it's probably trying to be able to consolidate here. Momentum is also starting to weaken, and so I think even if it probably tries to hold in, more likely is a better chance that it might pull back first. So just anticipate that. BDO, like I explained earlier, is already making its reaction, so it just needs to be able to close into the breakout point where it's had, and so you might find a better opportunity to buy and don't pull back for BDO.
Okay. All right, so let's move on to Meralco, April?
Yeah, Meralco, actually, fundamentally, we like it. It's a vertically integrated power company as well. Okay, the entry into power generation will benefit the company, and similar to AP, it has distribution kasi. So, you know, attaining a contract is not going to be a problem for this. Our issue really is, I mean, valuations. Currently, it's the most expensive power company. From being one of the cheapest last year, because it has gone up quite a bit.
Right.
It's now the most expensive, trading at 18 times PE. And actually, if you read the news, you will notice that parang medyo tinitira yung power generation niya eh.
Right.
So, the major risk is if this power generation business does not push through, that's 47 pesos out of our total fair value of 371. So if we take that out, that would be like 330, di ba? So, medyo mahal na siya talaga. So, that's why, again, we switched to AP na lang.
Right. One is scared to comment on the chart of Meralco.
Okay, all right. Well, the first one is Metrobank, but just to be able to display what happened when the stock rights offering was announced. I just want to maybe just touch on that a little bit. Just be careful nowadays whenever you see some very, very, very normal blue chips that don't normally go up that way are starting to be able to facilitate such advances. And you might be prone to that type of movement where earlier on in last year, we saw Ayala Corporation do the same thing, very sharp up move. Then they announced capital raise, the sale that they did. So be careful for things like that. So sometimes whenever you see very elevated movements, maybe companies might be thinking of being able to raise cash because the price is right and they want to be taking advantage of it. So we just have to wait for that to be able to normalize. In terms of Meralco, the pattern is getting a little uncomfortable for me. It looks like it's rising. I get the sense that it's being distributed. And because of that there might be the capacity for it to break that blue line you see below and make a little bit more of a correction. So I think a healthier price for that would be between closer of 311 to about closer to 300.
All right. So is that what you call a divergence? One is parang there's a...
Yes,
Yun ba
it's a
yun?
divergence.
All right. All right. Okay. Do you want to know about
Jollibee.
JFC?
Yeah, Jollibee, actually, fundamentally, Jollibee has always been a very expensive company, but I think in a way it kind of deserves it. Based on 9-month earnings, ang ganda talaga ng earnings niya. But we were surprised. Parang, despite having 1,000 stores, it still grows by double-digit teens, diba? So, again, we're not seeing any stopping to that. Our real issue is valuations. Again, it's just a bit expensive. It's trading at 34 times PE. Earlier on, we were talking about Shakey's trading at 20-something times, TNL 20+ times. So, I mean, I'd rather buy something trading at 20+ times PE, yun lang. But fundamentally, nothing wrong with Jollibee.
Right.
The price of Jollibee is just broke free from a previous high, and that's why it shot up. I would have been in a camp to buy it in that breakout price, but maybe now you want to also wait for it to be able to pull back. But as April has pointed out, in the years that I've been trading that stock, I hope you don't mind me saying, I mean, I put little regard for the fair value because Jollibee just simply always trades over the fair value for some strange reason, right? I don't know if it's for the langhap sarap or whatever it is. But just buy it on reactions. I mean, I don't think you'll go wrong over the long term. I think it's a beautiful movement in this chart.
I think it's Chicken Joy, Juanes.
Oh, is it the Chicken Joy?
All right. So, sorry. You want to discuss this or?
Well, yeah, okay. Ayala Corporation. I think Ayala Corporation will trade in a big box range for the meantime. I think there's an underlying condition, and maybe Globe might be putting a little bit of some pressure into this in terms of the reaction. But I think if you can buy toward the lower end of the horizontal range, I think that might be a better cast for Ayala Corporation, or where the two blue lines are. That might be a preferred area for you. I won't be too aggressive into it right now because it's stuck into a consolidation range.
Okay. MPI.
Okay, MPI. If you look at the strategy, ang ganda eh, di ba? Focus on defensive para sure ka, walang volatility. But there's an opportunity for growth because of underinvestment, di ba? And then we have some positive news flows, di ba? Maynila, they were able to get a favorable arbitration ruling on its right to pass on income tax expense in their tariffs, and also the toll road, you see the profits growing, no? And then again, this toll road business, they're gonna expand the capacity by a lot to make it grow. Okay, so again, I actually talked to my analyst about this. Sabi ko, why don't we add this in our list? What is your issue about it anyway? Sabi niya, my analyst, si George Ching, he kind of talked to me about the fair value of MPI. And he said, analysts like myself, sabi ni George, we're factoring in that MPI will actually be able to get a significant rate hike in the toll roads. Kasi, alam mo naman, mga analysts tulad ko, pagka, let's say, we bid for a project, we compute parang an IRR, a return on our investment. And the rate that they're charging us today in the toll roads is actually much less than what they were supposed to get based on the contracts. So sabi niya, he doesn't know whether the government will allow MPI to get that return. So if we actually take out that increase, the value of MPI will be much less than its fair value of 894. Yun ang sabi niya. Hindi naman natin alam kung ma-allow sila mag-pass ng rate hike. So that's the main issue, valuations and uncertainty on that regulation.
Ito, April, we understand it's very cheap now, but it keeps coming down, What's the deal on the FGen?
Fundamentally kasi, I think short term, in terms of earnings, actually it's gonna grow. As you can see, the 2018 EPS growth is quite fast, and the bulk of the power generation capacity is covered by take-or-pay contracts. I think kahit naman kami nagkamali kami dito, diba? Ni-recommend namin. I think there are two issues that people are more worried about today that we initially didn't think they would be. First is the ability of the new plants, the San Gabriel plant and the Avion plant to actually maximize profitability. Because remember, there's a power supply, power generation oversupply. So in other words, believe it or not, there's an oversupply situation right now, which makes it difficult for power companies to secure contracts if you don't have a distribution utility. And remember, FGen produces power using natural gas, which is a more expensive power. Yes, it's cleaner, but it's more expensive. So of course, if you were a power distribution company, your priority is to sell cheaper power. So you prefer coal over nat gas. So si FGen nat gas, medyo hindi pinaprioritize dahil doon. And secondly, the Avion was built to make money on higher WESM prices. WESM is like the stock market of power. Kung may shortage, power companies buy power from the WESM. The problem is there's an oversupply, kaya bagsak yung presyo doon. So hindi rin kumikita ng pera yung Avion. And so that's a short-term risk. I think people are worried about that. They want to see these companies or these new power plants making money. And I think the second risk is over the long term. Post-2023 kasi, they want to see the Malampaya, like they want an LNG facility, not gas facility, because the question is, will the power plants, the old gas plants, will they still be viable at that stage? And without that LNG facility, then it would be difficult to see those operate. So yun ang mga risks. But then I guess, ang tanong ko sa analyst ko nga, so should our recommendation be on this stock to sell rather than a hold? And he said, so my question to him is there a risk that FGen will become bankrupt? Sabi niya, wala naman. Kasi if you think about it, it still owns shares in EDC. And EDC is doing well. It's a geothermal plant. 80% of the capacity is also contracted. And in fact, it's a very attractive asset to sell to foreign investors. So sabi niya, walang risk of default. We just need the catalyst for the stock. So I guess if you own the stock and you don't mind sitting on it, you can hold on to it.
All right. So, Juanes, what about the
Right. So
technicals?
in MPI's case, I think a very clear sideways pattern is being drawn out. So buying closer to the lower end of that consolidation is the strategy, and maybe you can take some profits while it stands closer to the higher end of the range. With regards to first gen, since I'm a market timer, I am concerned about sitting on a position too long. And in a case like this, it's just recently broken down from a major support lows several times already generated, and that again still remains quite a concern to me. So I would attempt to beg off for now until I can see a nice basing pattern build up for first gen. I'll try to concentrate maybe on the other power companies as he suggested until I see a better formation build up in first gen.
All right. Del.
Okay. Yeah, PLDT. Actually, fundamentally, you know, the picture has improved for PLDT. We believe that profits will turn around. In fact, well, 2.3% growth in EPS, no? Parang exciting. Pero for PLDT, that's already good. Because right now, data is accounting for a bigger chunk of the earnings or the revenues. Unlike in the past, it was so small. Now, it's at the 40% level na. By 2019, it will be more than 50%. So that's one thing. And another thing is the competition with Globe has kind of died down. Medyo rational na sila. So things are improving. Our main issue, and valuations pala, it's actually very cheap. It's now much cheaper than regional telcos. Okay, but the problem talaga is, you know, threat of a third telco player coming in. I think that's the biggest threat. I think as long as it looks like the government is really bent on getting a third player coming in, as long as it's there, I think maybe sentiment for PLDT will remain depressed.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
URC?
Yeah, another stock. We were actually quite surprised with the move, no, of URC, because the stock has rallied quite a bit post the passage of the tax reform program. I think people were happy that coffee would not be slapped with an excise tax, but you know, we're not changing our view. We're not becoming positive on this because you know, competition in the coffee business is still intense, and that's 30% of revenues. And remember, the ready-to-drink business, or at least C2, will still be affected by excise taxes on sugary drinks. And the 6 peso excise tax per liter is very, very big. That's 10%.
Yes.
10 to 16% on the price. So that's quite a bit. And also, more worrisome is the changing preference of consumers away from iced tea to, they're saying, isotonic water. That's the bagong uso. So remember before, di ba, yung uso is yung mga pineapple juice with L-carnitine, whatever.
Oh,
and then it
fit
became,
and right, you know.
Pero ngayon, wala na yan. So then it became C2. O, di ba? So,
sabi ng mga millennials, what's C2?
Yeah.
Hindi nila alam yun.
Yeah, so there's this shifting trend. So we don't know what, you know, 2018 EPS growth of 0%. It's still trading at 32 times PE. I mean, sige, pagka trading maybe at 15 times PE, sige, pamigyan, baka pwedeng mag-rally. But 32 times, that's quite a bit expensive.
All right. One is,
All right. With regards to PLDT, although it's still very much into a downtrend, I am seeing some divergent signs already, and that means that as April suspects, there's a possibility there could be a recovery into this particular stock. The only issue I think over here is, so I would agree with her, is that March, I think, will be the timetable to which a third player may be discussed. So even if this makes a little bit of a rally, what happens in March when certain things are going to be discussed, and it could influence on the price. So if you're very much on the short term, maybe if you want to trade a rally, go ahead and find, just be a bit more discerning that when this thing makes a rally and it comes closer to resistance, that there might be pressure regained. With regards to URC, the movements in the short term have actually been quite impressive. I was actually really looking at a potential rally like that for URC for quite some time now, because just like what you're seeing in PLDT, there is that selling pressure, but as it's being sold, somebody seems to be buying or accumulating it. And I saw the same type of symbols taking place in URC before the rally. So hopefully we can see PLDT try to do something. I don't think it'll be that big, but I think it'll also be a little bit of a rally. For URC, please wait for it to come down. I think after moving very sharply. It needs to be able to adjust by a little bit of a decline, and then a new buying phase will have to first come inside before that will try to be able to continue on. So I think we're a little bit far from that. So anticipate that after this there might be a little bit of a correction and a consolidation before URC will start to be able to gain better traction.
All right, so let's check if there are others. I think honestly, may want to comment on.
All right,
CHP
so
and
this
Bloom.
is yeah. Okay, so we have CHP and Bloom. Well, CHP seem to have bottomed, so I guess that's the first good news I can tell you. But please understand that bottoming out takes time, and so the first rally is this first phase you're seeing. It has not gone through an accumulation phase. So what will normally happen is after this, it will peter out. Then it will build another consolidation, tighten its band before attempting to work off upwards, assuming the industry is still quite secure, right? Because I think cement is still in a questionable or neutral area that we still have to be able to see if it gains traction on. With regards to Bloomberry, I suspect that corrections in light here. So it might be able to rally a little bit. It's broken through a little bit of that uptrend line already, and so I think it might need to be able to make a real reaction and then build another consolidation from here too. So don't need to be too aggressive right now. Buy Bloomberry into the reactions, and I think in the earlier slides I did suggest downside targets.
Yeah, I think we skipped that.
We skipped.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But anyway, for CHP,
Yes.
fundamentally, I think the catalyst for the rally would include excitement that volumes would pick up because of the tax reform program.
Yes.
We're hearing some anecdotal evidence that cement prices are going up, but it's mixed. Some are saying it's flat, some are saying it's up. So maybe they are trying to increase prices. So that's benefiting the stock. And another catalyst for it is, last year, actually, as of 9 months, the company was in default for its mga debt covenants.
Okay.
Kasi it breached certain financial ratios, such as the debt to EBITDA ratio, the EBITDA to interest expense. So it was at risk of default. So I think that also triggered some sell-off by the funds. But then, just recently, we talked to CHP and they said that the creditor, which is BDO, said that the compliance date has been moved to June of 2020 and the interest rate on their loan will not go up. So they're safe for now. So I think those are the catalysts for CHP. But again, the question is, how sustainable is this? And also the cost of cement will actually go up for them because they will be negatively affected by excise taxes. Kasi around 50% of the cost is diba, limestone, power, and yung mga fuel costs. So all of those will be priced higher now because of the excise tax, and that's around 50% of their cost. So yeah, profits may still be weak this year.